Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Play Therapy Circle podcast. I'm your host, Kylie Ellison, and I am so glad you are here. Welcome to episode 31, you guys. This week, I'm recording on a Tuesday night, which is much better than a Thursday, late Thursday afternoon before the drop on the Friday, right? So this is, life goals. We're growing here. I have had a massive day. I don't know why in my brain this makes sense to record at the end of the day. I probably should be recording at the start of the day. Anywho, it is just gone 7:30 here in Queensland on a Tuesday night. So I am recording this. I'm going to reflect on my day and do this episode, and then I am going to call it a day. So I am excited for that. Tomorrow and the rest of the week, I am running clinical training as part of my practice organization. So I am really, really looking forward to that. I truly enjoy connecting with like-minded professionals who just are so passionate about child-centered play therapy. It truly, truly is a joy to share, I guess, my experiences and my learnings, but see their growth and change too. It's just incredible. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the week. So it'll be a little bit of a break from client work this week, but it's still going to be a busy week. And on the weekend, we are doing Valentine's Day, you guys. We're going to call it Valentine's Day. So I don't know if you guys celebrate it in your part of the world. I checked our. This is how bad this episode is going to be, you guys. I'm going to have moments where I'm like, did I say that? What am I saying? Where am I going? I checked our Spotify, like Apple Podcasts, kind of back end kind of metrics, and I think we're up to 43 countries, including Australia. Like, truly wild. So if you are just joining, generally speaking, most people who listen to the podcast will go from the start to the finish. So if you're a newbie, you're probably not here yet with this episode. But hello, if you are joining us for the first time, it is so nice to connect with so many people across the globe. I am starting to get back into conferences. This is just a wild ride, you guys. We're just going to chat, we're going to yarn, grab a coffee, all the things, or a tea because it's late when I'm recording this. So whenever you're listening to this, one of the things that I was interested in doing this year was getting back into conferences. I took a break. I took a break last year, so it was the year before. So it's been a couple of years since I have presented at conferences. I think so. That could be wrong, but it feels like it's been a while. Anyway, I decided this year that I would start applying. So the first one that I'm presenting in May will be in Cairns in, I think it's Far North Queensland. Do we call it Far North Queensland for Cairns? I guess so. North of Brisbane, for anyone following at home. So I'll be presenting in May, and I just found out the program because this is the third time now, I think. So they run their conference. It's the early years conference in Cairns. The incredible team there are just spectacular, and they do an amazing conference. So we have just been big supporters of that conference. Now, this is the third time. So it's been, the last 6 years. 3 times now, because it's run every 2 years, that I have been there. And I have just, loved the privilege of being able to go up to Cairns and be able to present on child-centered play therapy. It's been an absolute joy. So this year, if any of you guys have been following the episodes, I did an episode on, I guess, the impact of the post-COVID world that we live in now, and I guess that anxiety, I call it the anxiety kind of pandemic or epidemic that we're experiencing with those kids in that 4 to 6-year-old age group. And so I'm presenting on the research of that and just obviously the application of child-centered play therapy and how it can support kids who are struggling with anxiety symptomology. And I am on so there's 2 days, right? And so usually I'm on the second day, after lunch, because it's I don't know. I've been 20 years in the field, but 10 years as a play therapist. And I'm not a CEO of a massive company or like a doctor and, whatever. And so I'm usually down the bottom of the pile, which is totally fine. I just love being there. So I don't care. But this time I don't know, third time's the charm. I am like straight after, like pretty much straight after on the first morning, like at 11 o'clock, 11:20 or something, in the biggest room like that they have, doing my presentation after the keynote speaker who like opens the event. I was like, what? What? So I will absolutely, for all of you that follow our social media, both on the podcast social media and my organization social media, I will vlog all of that so that you guys can come along and follow the journey of like, what am I gonna do? Like the capacity is like 500 people. I've never presented at a conference with that many people. I've done lots of conferences over the years. Like I've probably almost ticked over to kind of, ooh, I'm gonna say 10 or 12 at this stage over my career. So like over 10 years. So that's not really that impressive, right? But this one feels a little bit different because of, I guess, that, yeah, that honor that they've given me of having my presentation, basically straight after the keynote. Wild, like just wild. So I found that out today and I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. So I'm doing that and then I'm presenting at the Brisbane Convention Centre in June at the Childcare Alliance Australia conference, I believe it is. So I come back from holidays like the day before. So again, I promise that I will vlog that because that's going to be wild as well. I don't know what to expect with that one. I've never presented there before. So that'll be kind of cool. And then obviously we announced our own conference that we are holding as part of the Play Therapy Circle in October in Brisbane at the Ridges. So that's going to be super, super fun. I'm like beyond excited. It's going to be such a weekend of just connection and support and sharing of our passion of CCPT. So I can't wait. So there's one more conference. So I'm not going to say what it is because if I don't get it, like, then that's good. Like you don't want to like tell people, then it doesn't happen. But if that one comes through, that's kind of, yeah, it's one of my bucket list ones. So, I mean, out of three applications, yeah, I've been accepted for two so far. So you never know. You never know. But it's interesting, right? When you kind of manifest things in your life. I don't know if anyone believes in that stuff. Like, it's not a big thing for me, but I like to have goals at the start of the year and I like to kind of have things that I'm aiming for. And yeah, one of them was to get back into conferences. And here we are, three conferences later and maybe a fourth. So love that, love that. And I guess, something on my big, big bucket list at some stage in my career would be hopefully one day to connect with any of you, more internationally. I'd love to have that opportunity to connect with those who are also passionate about CCPT outside of Australia. So, yeah, that's on the bucket list as well at some stage. So hopefully that will come through as well. So a lot's happening. And I had a plan, and for any of you guys who like know me or have kind of picked up on my vibes, especially with my late diagnosed ADHD brain, you will know that I have a plan and then I usually change it at a whim. But most importantly, before I get started and talk about the topic, how are you guys going? Like truly, this week, how are you doing? Like it's the 10th of February. It's the 10th. I vlogged today, and so that will go up on the socials of a day in the life of me just like just juggling the balls and getting stuff done. And did I vlog this afternoon at Woolworths? So that's our local grocery store here in Brisbane. Did I vlog buying Easter eggs in February? Yes. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Did I eat some of them when I came home? Absolutely. Absolutely. Did I eat it before dinner? Also, yes. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Honestly, this week, and I don't know if this is for anyone else, the feeling or the vibes, but truly today felt like Friday and it's Tuesday. So it's deeply disappointing on so many levels. So that is what's happening in my world. I hope you guys are having a great start to your week. I hope it's going well for you. Gosh, I've just been blown away by just so much support for our conference. So I just want to thank everyone for all of your beautiful words and beautiful support. And it's just been, and I don't know if this is for you guys, wherever you are in the world, wherever this is finding you today, if you are in February, the 10th of February, finding in your local community just a true like influx in referrals. Like we are like, I am overbooked. Like when I say I have no time in my schedule, I'm not even kidding. And I had another referral today and I was like, yeah, I can make that work. So if that is you and you are fully booked and you're struggling maybe with those boundaries around, I need to like not, I need to sleep. Like I must have work-life balance. I see you this week. It just feels a little it just feels like there's a lot happening in our communities and a lot of struggle. And there always is, right? But when you're connected in this way in child-centered play therapy, and one of our key tenets around that sense of empathy and connection and unconditional positive regard, you can't help but feel some of that movement in the community. So if you are, I just want to send all my love to you as well, because yeah, there's a lot going on, certainly in Australia, certainly in our local communities. And there's certainly families out there that need our support. So, feeling really grateful to be able to do this work and to be able to connect with kids in this way and support them. But I had a plan. Getting back to my point a couple of minutes ago, if you guys are neurodivergent, anyone listening who's neurodivergent has probably followed along what I've said. Those who are neurotypical are probably losing their minds. They're like, where is the structure to this podcast? What are you doing? I promise I've got one. Here we go. So I had a plan of a topic. So for you guys who have been following along, you would know we have been doing episodes on helping to share information for parents about child-centered play therapy. So I had every intention of doing that tonight. However, I'm always called to what I connect with usually on the day. And today was a unique day. So I thought it was important that I wanted to put this information out there and these reflections in case it really kind of lands or resonates or connects for anyone listening I was going to say at home. That's a real assumption. Like you could be out walking, you could be at work. So no, not just at home, but wherever you're listening to this, I just I had a session today, and I'm really mindful that it is very, very important that we are always protecting the confidentiality of the clients that we work with. So I will absolutely not be sharing any specific information, but this is a more broad topic on endings and navigating endings in child-centered play therapy. So it's the experience today has really kind of given me a bit of a launch pad for what I want to talk about in this space today and in this episode, and how important endings in child-centered play therapy are for so many reasons, but not what you might think. So that sounds very like mysterious, right? And I'm really not that. I'm not that good at being mysterious, so it's really not that deep. But I do want to say that if you are, as a practitioner at the moment, either just recently navigating and ending with a client, or you're going through the process of counting them down and exiting them as a client, or you might have a scenario where you're considering that ending process with a client, this episode is for you, because what I want to say is I have been practicing. In May, it will be 11 years. So I started my training 11 years ago, over 11 years ago. Oh, no, it would be just in February, I believe, end of January, February, that I started my training 11 years ago and have had my practice officially for just over 10 years. So in that time, I've obviously had clients that have had endings. And I think what I want to acknowledge here is even the concept of endings in child-centered play therapy has so many different definitions, right? So we're talking about sometimes where clients' funding ends and we just don't necessarily get to the end of our therapy work, but there's an ending. Clients move away. They're often in the child protection space. There's clients that move placements, and so then we never see them again. Like there's this kind of this process where that transition doesn't happen and it's outside of our control. There might be a situation where, yep, for whatever reason, a parent withdraws consent, or a parent, makes that decision around where to from here. And so there is that sense of a variety of endings that happen in child-centered play therapy. And of course, as I said, I've had many clients and when you have a client, and I've got one top of mind from years ago now, where you've been working with them for a long time, and then you have this ending. It's such a connected, I guess, moment in recognizing, honoring, and really acknowledging that journey, how far both the child and you have come in this process. You guys know that I always talk about clients as my teachers. I feel like every client that I work with, I learn something from, which I carry with me. I was only kind of reflecting on this with an incredible supervisor the other day, and I really enjoyed that conversation because I think that it's it's one of those things, and I don't know if this is going to land for everyone, but for me, it's one of those things where, especially with endings, whether it is something that's planned or it's something that's really abrupt, that, oh gosh, it just goes into that core memory kind of bank of all of the clients that we've worked with, all of the kids that we've walked alongside, and what we learn about ourselves in that process, and how we become better people for having that opportunity to have learnt from that child about life, and taking them with us when we meet our next new client. So I don't know if that lands for anyone, but that was definitely something that I was reflecting on and really feel is very relevant to today. But I think I want to talk about the journey of child-centered play therapy. I think that we talk about the stages, we talk about themes, we talk about, how to predict and kind of look and assess for those endings. But I think what struck me, in my work more recently has been that it's a part of the story that we walk alongside and support. But it's really interesting. We talk about child-centered play therapy as being so much about the relationship first, more than anything else, and investing that time in the beginning in forming that connection so that we have that foundation and safety and trust for a child to really unpack and make sense of their world. I think in my head, and maybe it's my ADHD brain, but I think that there was a part of me that thought when you have endings that it's almost like things come to a natural and neat kind of ending. And if that's you as well, and I'm saying this very authentically, right? I'm 10 years down the line. I should know better. But I'm telling you in real time kind of my experience and I guess my thinking. And I learned something today about, I'm going to call it the fluid nature of child-centered play therapy. And that's probably not a thing, but I'm going to call it that because I think that we always say, as you guys know, in the language that we use when we are counting a child down and ending them, we've got 4 more sessions together, mate, and then we won't be seeing each other for now. And we emphasize the for now because we know that there is the potential or the possibility that we may connect again down the line. And I know for me as a child-centered play therapist, I always say I work with children of all ages. And so my door is always open to my clients who want to come back down the line. That just goes without saying. But I realized today there's a little part of me that maybe considers that, when that therapy work ends, that maybe that's not going to happen. And I say that because obviously from my own anecdotal experience over the last 10 years, that it's only on one occasion that I've had a client that I've ended with, that I've kind of, finished that process and then, a few years later connected with again. So for me, and again, this could be very different to you, so just purely kind of talking anecdotally of my own experience, it doesn't happen very often. So when I know that there's an ending, I'm often viewing it as, a farewell and a goodbye. And I learned today that with endings, and you can have this ending that happens in your therapy journey with the client. And we say that, it's our time is up and we won't be catching up anymore for now. But that was really apparent to me today, that for now part. I'm really kind of honing in on that in this topic today because I really didn't realize the power of that. Because I think that is actually something that's really important to acknowledge, that there really is, like I said, a fluid nature to the relationship. It's not a cut and dry, like this is the end, you've reached mastery, you've reached your goals, you know, see you later, kind of thing. And I'm really, really grateful for that insight and that gift today. Um, and it's just something that I wanted to put out there and I guess encourage that reflection for you as well. Because I think that we can really feel like, especially as beginning play therapists, feel like we need to very heavily lean into those stages of play and themes and, you know, transition stages and, you know, how to assess when a child's reached their goals and, you know, all of those things, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that the ending is the end. And that was really helpful for me today to notice that. And I think that this is the next step in my practice. So if this is resonating for anyone else, I hope it is. For beginning play therapists, you're probably listening to this and going, you lost me at, you know, conference talk, which is fair. I talked a lot before we got to this topic. If you're still with me, thank you for hanging in there and following along my fluid train of thought. But yeah, I came across a little bit of information here that I wanted to share around the fact that endings don't erase the relationship. I came across that and I was like, oof, oof. I've just got to wriggle because I'm like getting stuck on my chair, you guys. So if you're watching me on the video, you're like, what is she doing? My knee is sore. Okay, let's talk about it. Endings don't erase the relationship. It's not the end, but it is because we call it the end, right? And we do this whole process. I always, when I'm sharing with supervisees around what to expect if they're about to have their first last session, I promise that made sense when I said it. And I'll often say it feels different, the last session. I've had a reflection from my experience today where I'm like, it it's obviously the ending. We acknowledge that. And we acknowledge that we have connected and worked with our client and helped them to reach their potential. But I really realized and reflected on it really isn't the ending, and it definitely doesn't erase that relationship. And we have given that child or that young person a lived experience where they can end safely and they can feel safety in that connection. And that connection doesn't finish because we don't catch up anymore. I'm putting that out there, you guys. This is very existential. Very different content to last week's episode. Oh man, it's a ride. It's a trip when you listen to one of my podcasts, right? Have I reached anyone with this? Like, am I, I'm wondering if this is landing for anyone, that the ending doesn't erase the relationship. Oof. And that normalizing endings often brings more play, not less. That's something to consider. And that this is really about the relationship as healing in itself. Right? Like it's the relationship that is healing in itself. Which kind of like throws in the face. I promise I'm still here. I'm just like really like taking this in. And I don't know if this is kind of landing for anyone else, but it kind of flies in the face of kind of needing those stages of play. And I'm not going to kind of go down any kind of therapeutic pathways with that. I wholeheartedly 100% believe in our framework and our modality, and especially in the stages of play. So definitely not debating that or seeking to change that. But I think as you advance in your career, I think one of the things that I am reflecting on and just making sense of and really integrating into my practice is that deeper work that we do past that sort of stages, the things that we learn in our training, the things that we start doing in our beginning of our career. When we move past that, there is a deepening of our practice that involves us looking much more at that felt experience level around the relationship and really examining that relationship and how it really is the catalyst for so much in CCPT. And when we're talking about this topic of endings, it's critical in acknowledging that that relationship offered the healing. Like that, the relationship in itself was healing. Woo! Oh my lordy, lordy, lordy. I don't know if that's landed for anyone, truly. But what I want to, I guess, talk a little bit about is if you are looking for, I guess, an understanding of what an ending might look like, this is not the episode for you. I'm just kidding. Because I'm down the rabbit hole of like, endings aren't the end. Whoa, that's deep as well. Endings are not the end. If we have truly worked and gotten to the place where the child, if we think about Cochrane and Cochrane's goal setting model, which I'm a big fan of in child centered play therapy, Cochrane and Cochrane talk about symptomology reduction, human capacity building, and then personality change. If we have connected at such a deep level in a relational experience with the child that we have this shift and change in their personality where, and they say in the textbook, someone, a parent or a teacher or someone might come in and say they're just not that same kid anymore, right? That's kind of the example of that, what that change looks like. If that is the case, just as I started this conversation in the podcast talking about how I carry the gift of what I learn from each of the kids that I work with into the next child that I work with, wouldn't that be the same for the child? Like putting that out there. Wouldn't there be something around, and I'm not trying to make that in an egocentric way, by the way, either. Like I'm really kind of getting probably a little Freudian here for anyone who loves psychodynamic psychotherapy, but I feel like there's something at an unconscious level that has shifted and changed with the child in the same way that it does for us in our learnings and our growth as play therapists, that then means that they would carry that with them too. Like we're acknowledging that there's that change for them, but at a deeper level, that relationship has been the healing. So I put it out there. And it's one of those things, right, that, when you end with a client, you're not going to follow them up in, 2 years' time and say, hey, do you feel like the relationship, the working relationship we had, you've carried with you? Like, it's not something we're ever going to get an answer for. It's not something we can ask. It's very at an unconscious kind of emotional level that I'm talking about, but I'm putting that out there because if we think about it that way, our presence, our congruence, our authenticity, our empathy, our unconditional positive regard, the tenets of CCPT are the factors of change. They are the elements of change in that relationship by showing up as ourselves and offering that space to a child. That is the change for the child. So regardless of whether we kind of tick the boxes and say whether they move through aggressive, regressive mastery, they've had that experience where it's shifted and changed them to be able to navigate life, and they carry that with them. Whoa. So good. So good. I don't know if this has been helpful for anyone, but this has been so good for me to talk this out because it's been such a big day. And I think that really what struck me in my learnings was just that ending session where I've had that in the past. There's definitely been experiences where it's felt very final. And that's okay. Like that every ending is different, right? But I'm so grateful for the learnings that I had today around it actually could also be fluid. And that actually that shows that we've done a good job if they have had that shift and change and they're able to obviously finish up in therapy. And they've had that kind of deep level kind of human capacities and personality change and shift and change. But that goes on after we finish, which is so cool. So not only are we then, because if we think about it then at a macro level, you're talking about that child going out into the world with a different, kind of lens to when they first started working with us that will hopefully have a positive flow-on effect to their personal relationships, their peer relationships, their family relationships, their community relationships, which makes our work so important, right? And I just want to give anyone who really is maybe stuck in the, how do I put this? Like the nuts and bolts of the work. That's a very, I feel like that's maybe an Australian term. So now that we have so many international countries, let me explain. When I'm talking about like nuts and bolts, it's like the absolute foundations of child centered play therapy, which I don't ever want to suggest we dismiss. That's very important. I think in the beginning, while you're building your sense of confidence as a beginning child centered play therapist, we lean very heavily into the skills and the theory and the concepts that we've learned. So I want to give you that hope down the line that once you have mastered that and you feel very confident in that and you feel like you can navigate that, I want to, and especially for those of you who've maybe been practicing 2 or 3 years and you're feeling a little bit stagnant or a little bit stuck, but even if you're in the beginning, that what I'm having an epiphany today about, which probably shows I'm a little bit slow learner. It's taken me 10 years to do this, guys. No, 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 no. It's just that this has been this particular client that's given me this gift. I'm talking myself out of that. What I've learned today is that it all is about the relationship, but it's about that authentic connection. It's about us showing up as our authentic self and connecting authentically with the child because we truly believe in them and their capacity for growth and change, and that it's a dynamic process that happens over their life, obviously, as well, and that we can have a really powerful impact on children regardless of kind of the time frame, because sometimes we don't have that say or control over funding blocks and things like that, right? Or change of placements, things like that. So sometimes that's out of our control. But there is something truly sacred about what we do that offers a space for children to walk in as a particular child and walk out as someone totally different, but in a really good way. And to walk out into the world and navigate the world, maybe a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit more confident. And that's something they're going to carry with them. How cool is that? Oh my God. I don't know if this is landing for anyone else. This has been a really like different episode, I guess, because I wanted to have that kind of self-reflection. But I guess I wanted to offer that hope, really, truly. I mean, if I'm living my tenets of CCPT, that's what I truly believe in, is that hope for every single client and every single child that walks into my playroom. I truly believe in them. I believe in their family, and I believe in their capacity for growth. And that goes to me too. Well, we can talk about that another day. But that's like, we also believe in ourselves and the incredible opportunity we have to grow as human beings when we are child-centered play therapists. But also the nature of child-centered play therapy being so much bigger than just sessions in a playroom. So I guess I want to plant that seed for you and truly invigorate you to have that confidence within you that what you do, I say this a lot, you guys, but I truly mean it. What you do matters. Whoa. I'm like having this moment because I'm thinking and obviously reflecting on my day at the same time. What you do matters. And it's so much about connecting at that really relational level and holding that hope and being ourselves. That is so, so powerful. And so if you are about to navigate endings or you've gone through that process yourself, it's important in these reflections, I want to acknowledge it's not about manufacturing an ending or a closure, and that our presence is more powerful than any words that we can give to kids. Whew. So much stuff. So much stuff here. I want to leave with some things because I had like a whole planner, you guys, for this episode today. And did I follow it? No. What a day, you guys. What a trip. What are some things that I want to leave you with? I feel like I've left you with so much, but let me just kind of add a couple of extra things that I did actually have written down. So I want to talk about how the relationship lives on inside the child. I mean, that's been the whole concept of today. I wrote that down and then like I've just gone off on a tangent and talked about it, and now I'm just checking my notes. How cool is that? The relationship lives on inside the child. I want to just like almost leave the podcast there because I feel like that's so powerful. Oh man. I do. I actually think I'm going to leave it at that. The relationship lives on inside the child. And so that ending session doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be textbook. In fact, it's quite the opposite usually. It's sacred. It's such an important space. And every time I get the chance with any of my clients to do that ending session, I am so grateful because it offers recognition of that relationship and that connection, but also at the same time, allowing that child to have an experience where they're supported until the very end, where they know that they are truly seen and heard. I hear you, I see you, I understand and I care. And I literally am doing that until the moment they leave my playroom for the last time. And that is so deep and powerful for any child to experience. So I am always so incredibly grateful to have that opportunity. But I want to offer that opportunity now as I wrap up this episode and I finish up my night. Because it's time. I need to finish my night. Because I could talk to you guys all night. This would be like such a fun if you guys were actually like looking at me. I'm looking at my camera and just like talking to myself. It's very like not that exciting. So hopefully one day I get to connect with some of you incredible listeners and be able to talk face to face. Because you can imagine what it would be like to talk to me about this stuff. We would talk for days. But I want to invite you to reflect on your own experiences of endings in child centered play therapy, if it's coming up for you, if it's something you've had, and really give yourself that permission to be proud of yourself. Proud of you and proud of that child that you connected with, and proud of how far they came and how much work they did and how vulnerable they were and how much they taught you about life, because all of that is true. And what a privilege it is to be able to send them on their way, knowing that you absolutely gave your best and knowing that's probably a little part of you that's going to be a part of them for the rest of their lives as well. And I don't mean that egocentrically at all. I think if we are able to offer, and Gary Lindros talks about this in The Art of the Relationship around role modeling a socially acceptable relationship, if we're able to offer an experience or an example of role modeling of a healthy relationship, what an incredible opportunity that is for that child to have that, to be able to lean into that when they experience challenges down the road in their life, that they can call on that experience and say, well, I know. And I always say, when I'm talking to supervisees and to parents, to some extent, I'm often saying to them, if I've left them a little bit lighter, if I've left your child or my client a little bit lighter, I feel like I've done my job, because at least they go out into the world a little less burdened, maybe an additional kind of tool in their toolkit. That's kind of worst case scenario, right? Because I think that relationship and that connection means so much more than that. I'm really kind of drawing that down to the basics. But it's just, oh man, I say it all the time that when I'm in the playroom, I'm like, this is just the biggest privilege ever to be able to do this work and to witness this growth and to witness that connection and to learn more about myself along the way and to be given that gift by the children that I work with. So I am so grateful to have had the chance to talk to you guys about this. Thank you so much for listening. If you are still here, appreciate you. I hope you have a lovely weekend ahead planned, whatever you've got planned in your life. I've never done this before, but so I'm pivoting topics now. I think I said at the beginning, we're doing, my daughter and I and some mum friends and her friends, we're all getting together and we're doing Galentine's Day. So in Australia, I don't think that's necessarily a big thing, but I think it's more overseas. But whatever, we're going to do it anyway. So I'm super excited, beyond excited. So I might post about that on the socials. So if you follow us on social media, feel free to follow along. And next week, I may change my mind again. So I just don't think I should promise an episode of what I'm going to do next week, because you never know. You never know with me. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, follow us along on social media. All of our stuff, all of our updates, all of our events, my, adventures that I get on. I was like, what do I call this? My life is all posted on the social media. So check us out at the Play Therapy Circle podcast on Facebook, Instagram. Instagram's a good one to follow along, and TikTok when I remember. Otherwise, we have, as I said, our incredible conference that we are looking forward to connecting with so many of you at the end of the year here in Brisbane. If you're an international listener, we will hopefully be able to offer you some sort of access afterwards so that you can watch some of the recordings if you can't make it in person. So we are definitely making sure that our Play Therapy Circle community is able to connect with all of us, both locally and internationally at the end of the year. So I'm very excited. More than anything else, I am so grateful to each and every one of you for your support of this podcast. I hope that this was helpful and useful for you today. Please look after yourselves and each other. Go well, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye.